everybody. Welcome. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed on this Friday afternoon. By the way, not to start the show on a down note, but some of you probably know, or if you didn't know, you figured it out. I played Edelweiss from Sound of Music because I just saw, right as I was coming on the air, that Christopher Plummer just passed away at the age of 91. So I'm not a big musicals guy, never have been, but I always, something special to me about the Sound of Music. I always loved that. I don't know if they still do it now, but when I was a kid, it was an annual tradition, I think, on NBC. Every year during the holiday season, they would show The Sound of Music. It was that and The Wizard of Oz. Those two movies they would show every year during the holidays. And so I always really loved The Sound of Music. So I was sad to see that Christopher Plummer passing away today. And that's I've always loved that scene, you know, when Christopher Plummer, when Von Trapp, when he's... when he gets kind of teary there, when he chokes up while he's singing it, that, God, that still gets to me. All right. Anyway, I am a sensitive guy underneath all the radio, whatever radio persona I have, however it is that people perceive me. So anyway, here we are. On this Friday afternoon. It is Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester, streaming at WMNHradio.org, and on the Facebook, on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. It is Friday, February 5, 2021. And if you're watching online, you can see I've got my Hop Knot shirt on. Of course, the Hop Knot, our wonderful sponsor in the Brady Sullivan Plaza right across the street. Well, it doesn't mean anything that it's across the street from us. What matters is if it's across the street from you, which it probably isn't, but it is right in downtown Manchester. So 1000 Elm Street. It's a wonderful place. They have delicious gourmet pretzels. They have craft beer. They have wine. They have these really cool face masks, the Hop Knot face mask. It's only $10. And if you wear it when you go to pick up your food, you get 10% off your order. So that's a pretty cool deal. And they do everything very safely there. The staff is masked at all times. The tables are nice and spread out. And they do clean and sanitize thoroughly and diligently, which is very important. Great food, great service, and it's a great family that owns and operates it. And we're very thankful to have that association with them, the Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza. Also, too, I did see Mike Pelopita in the Facebook live chat. Mike, of course, from another one of our wonderful sponsors here at WMNH, Queen City Cabinetry in the historic Sunbeam Mall, as Peter White says during the ad. You can bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, but not just your kitchen, as we learned not long ago. So, of course, we have all these wonderful sponsors here, the Regency Collection, and, of course, the OG of WMNH sponsors, CGI Business Solutions. They've been with us from the very beginning, from before I was at the station, in fact, the very beginning. So there you go. It's quite a wonderful family that we have here. And the number to call, 603-250-6007, is the number to call, 603-250-6007. You can also text, if you prefer, at 617-917-4476. You can tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can always interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do, of course, is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. By the way, just a couple programming things. If you'd like to hear it, if you missed it, and you might enjoy it, I was last night on the Dr. Kevin Show following this program. If you didn't get to hear it live, they do archive all the shows on the Ohm Times, Ohm, O-M as in Ohm, the Ohm Times Radio Network. So if you go to ohmtimes.com/IOM, you can find last night's edition of the Dr. Kevin Show. I joined Dr. Kevin on his program the first Thursday of every month, and we discuss what else? Politics. I can't discuss anything else with him. I'm not a doctor. But anyway, yeah, so I had a good time last night, as always, on the Dr. Kevin Show. Today, of course, right here on WMNH, following my program, is Granite State of Mind with the great Rob Azevedo from 6 to 7 p.m. And then tonight at 8 p.m., of course, as we do every Friday, 8 to 10, it's Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. And I am Paul's co-host on that program. So he sits here and I sit over there. And Dan Randlett, who also is with us, sits over there. And of course, unless you're watching online, you have no idea where I'm pointing. But trust me, if you are listening in your vehicle on your afternoon commute, radio is theater of the mind. So you can just imagine I was pointing at different places in the room, which in fact I was. So there you go. As always, we have plenty to discuss, but I would like to say hello I'd like to say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. We have a very active chat room around here, and on the morning show as well, by the way. It's many of the same people, so and we do appreciate that. Let's see who is in here with us this afternoon. I see Brian Mackey all the way from Idaho. Brian says happy Friday. Mike Palapita, as I mentioned, is in the chat as well. Let's see. Jenny is in the chat. Jenny says, shalom, peeps. Rocky Huber says, everyone says happy Friday. I say sad Friday because it means it's 2 days before the next show. Oh, Rocky. Well, that's very sweet. Well, actually, that reminds me, and I sometimes I forget to plug it, but Saturday mornings right here on WMNH from 9 to 11 a.m. is the best of Matt Connarton Unleashed. So there's always that. I need to produce some more episodes of those. I think right now we only have about 126 of them in the can. No, I'm kidding. No, but we've got more than 30 of them, but I do need to make some new ones. I don't want them getting stale. So that's but very, very kind of you, Rocky. Eric Street points out to Rocky, but then there's 2 shows after this. There you go. Tom Blanchard indicates apparently The Sound of Music is his favorite movie. Oh, very nice. It is a fantastic film. Let's see. Oh, Tom says, yes, Matt, they still play it every year. Wow. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Ann Rockwell Van Latham, I hope I said that somewhat correctly, says, I loved that song. Thank you for playing it. Oh, absolutely. Eric says, I listen to past shows on Saturdays that are pre-COVID. Yes. It's like a different world. It's like, BC and BC and AC before COVID, after COVID. Eric Street. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. No. Rocky Huber says, Eric Street, have you heard any of the episodes with the ghost of John McCain? Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of this, Eric Street. I don't think you've been with us as long as Rocky Huber, but we are actually haunted by the ghost of John McCain here at WMNH.
That would be crazy.
See, there he is. He just pops up whenever. I know that some people don't believe that that's actually John McCain's ghost, but it really is.
I'm John McCain.
See, he just confirmed it for us. Angela Philbrook says, I've never seen The Sound of Music. Oh, you must. You must. Rocky Huber says, I think the ghost of John McCain took some time off because Trump was in office, but I feel like now that Biden is in office, he might make a return. Well, he's always here. He is always here.
I have a clear record of bipartisanship.
Right. So regardless of who is president, grammar, Matt, regardless of who is president, the ghost of John McCain is always with us.
Because I've always had 100% absolute truth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we know. Let's see. Angela says, Stephen Philbrook, you sure we grew up in the same house? Tony D is in the Facebook live chat from our friend. He is a top fan, by the way. He's our friend from Philadelphia. He says, one more day till the big day. And I assume that what Tony D is talking about is tomorrow night I will be a guest on Abstract No, that's a completely separate show, but I do want to remind you of that or tell you about that. That reminds me to tell you about that. No, of course, I'm just kidding. Tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. online, of course, the return, a brand new season of the Tony D D Show. So we look forward to that. And, of course, you can find that where all your finer podcasts are available, and you can stream it live online, of course. Raw Talk Radio. Is it Raw Talk or is it rawtalklive.com? And IPM Nation and so forth. But yeah, the Tony D Show. I assume Tony will be calling with his Philly word of the day very shortly. But yep, Tony's a great guy, and we enjoy his calls very much and having that association with him. But that does remind me, tomorrow night I will be appearing on Abstract Transmissions, our friend Mark Smith. I've been on that show a couple of times now. Once in person, that was of course pre-COVID, and once a couple of months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I was on with Mark. And, you know, we usually talk about politics for a couple of hours. But that is a pre-recorded show. That is not live. So we will be recording a brand new edition of Abstract Transmissions tomorrow evening, which will air, I believe, on Wednesday. That will be available to our adoring public. And if you haven't, you know, that is also available on all the big podcasting sites. So if you'd like to check it out, Mark does a great show and has a lot of very interesting conversations. Let's see. Christian Lacoste is in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Christian. Let's see. Rocky Huber says, I think one day you should just make the best of Eazy-G entertainment reports. You know, that's actually a good idea. I mean, I think there is of the best ofs. I think there is one that is the best of Eazy-G, but I think making one specifically the best of Eazy-G's entertainment reports is a fantastic idea. And actually, you know, obviously some of them would be old, but it wouldn't matter that much because Eazy-G likes to tell us about things that are happening like 2 years in advance. So it could be, you know, there could be an entertainment report from 6 months ago, but it would still have relevant information today. And Scott Robinson would love it because he'd have oodles of Amanda McCarthy tour dates. And some of them would even be happening in the future. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, it's Eazy-G.
Eazy-G, were your ears burning? We were just talking about you.
Oh, I know. I just shut the radio off. So I didn't hear. Wow. Would you care to repeat it?
Senator Obama talks about change, but clearly he has no record of it.
Yeah, we were just chatting with the ghost of John McCain about Obama's presidency.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the ghost now, the Dustin Diamond died. The old Screech from Saved by the Bell a couple days ago. Sure you heard about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 44 years old. He had stage 4 lung cancer.
Yes. Yes,
it killed him really quick.
I kind of feel like...
oh, you're exactly right.
I kind of feel like we discussed that the other day already when it happened.
No, we didn't.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I don't think it's the first time I brought it up in either show.
Oh, okay.
You and I just have a fundamental disagreement.
It kind of reminded me when you were talking about that person from the show there, the musical. That person died today. What's that show again?
Yeah, Christopher Plummer. He starred in The Sound of Music, and you know he had a very distinguished acting career beyond that. But
I think I seen that at the Palace Theater. Either the kids did it or the adults did it. It was really good. Yeah.
I strongly disagree with your assertion.
Well, no one could do it as well as Christopher Plummer as Von Trapp.
True. I've seen it on TV many times. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
It's a long one. It's a long show.
Absolutely. Oh, it is. Yes.
But it's always so good music, though. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the best musicals. Yep.
Oh, it's really the only musical I can think of that I have ever genuinely enjoyed. I'm not a big musicals guy.
The Wizard of Oz. I've seen that many times at the Palace Theater. Oh my God, the young kids did it, the older kids did it, the adults did it a couple of years ago. Always one of my favorites. The Yellow Brick Road, we go.
You know,
off to see the Wizard, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I guess that's a musical too, technically.
It's funny because my mother's brother talked about Wizard of Oz all the time. To the point where I drove everybody in the house crazy.
You gave me some examples.
And now I'm a big fan, so my mother says, "Oh, I don't want to hear about the Wizard."
I thank you, my friend.
Well, who does, really?
Yeah, I do. I like The Wizard.
Oh, that's right. You did say you enjoy that.
I've seen it I've seen it at the theater probably like 20 times in the last couple of years.
Wait a minute.
What else?
Yeah, have you heard of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
The Red Hot Chili Peppers. I usually
right.
Well, I usually pronounce it Red Hot Chili Peppers. You put the emphasis on a different syllable.
It's a band from overseas in England. They're going to be at the theater virtually again.
Oh,
no. February 12th at 7 o'clock.
I get it. I misunderstood. You were talking about the Red Hot Chili Pipers.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Pipers. Yeah, Pipers.
Yes.
They're going to be at the Palace Theater February 12th. I found out at 7 o'clock.
Hurtful.
And I've seen them 3 times over the years. And if I see them again on virtually, I wanted to wear my headphones because it's super loud.
It's important to say these things correctly. You don't want to upset the ghost of John McCain.
Yeah, I know. I did that wrong too one time on Facebook. I posted the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Actually, they're going to laugh. They come to the theater a couple times now over the years, and the first time people got confused, and when they got there, they thought they were going to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and people got mad. And it was the Pipers, and some people wanted their money back. But as you well know, there's no refund, no exchange at the Palace Theater.
We can do it.
Rocky Huber says, I had the very blessed opportunity to attend an Amanda McCarthy event with Eazy-G, and let me tell you, LOL.
Oh, my God. That was funny. I didn't know who the heck he was. Who's this guy?
You didn't know who Rocky Huber was? He knew who you were because you're Eazy-G.
No, I didn't. The first time I met him, I didn't know who the heck he was.
Right. Well, you never really know who the heck someone is the first time you meet them, unless you're formally introduced.
He was a little too much the first time I met him.
Was he a little? You know what the young people say is, was he a little extra? That's what the young people say now. They say extra.
He was something, all right.
Wow.
I haven't seen him for a while now because of COVID. I'm not allowed to see anybody now. So hopefully, when things slow down, we can get together and do something.
You know, that's a tough question.
But it's been a while since I've seen the kid.
That requires.
Anyways, I'm stumbling and bumbling, so I'm gonna clear the air. So
you have a kid?
Maybe somebody else could call up and give their 2 cents. So we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Eazy-G leaves us. Did Eazy-G just say it's been a long time since he's seen his kid? So he does have a kid. Oh, all right. Well, thank you for finally clearing that up, Eazy-G. We thought you had an offspring because of that Facebook post from a while ago. He just confirmed it just now. Breaking news. It's been a long time since he's seen his kid. I understand. Well, I mean, I don't understand in the sense that I don't have any children of my own, but it must be terrible to not see them due to COVID-19. Let's see. Well, that opens up a line for you, 603-250-6007. Rocky says, yes, I was extra, LOL. I met the superstar Eazy-G. Let's see. I just want to make sure we get, I saw a couple other folks in here. Christian, I mentioned, is in there. Christian says he just took the best nap ever. It's a good idea to nap before my show. That way you're well rested. Stephen Philbrook's best of Matt Connarton Unleashed is, he says, my favorite best of is the best of the Pope. That is, of course, a reference to our friend Father Bruno, who calls us all the way from the Vatican in Rome. We haven't heard from Father Bruno in a long time. We hear from this other guy who reminds me of him a little bit, Q, but it's been a long time since we've heard from Father Bruno. I would sure love a Father Bruno call, even though he does kind of insult me a bit when he tells me that I'm on the, what did he say? I'm on the, well, he said I'm going to hell, but Peter White, I remember he said, is on the freight train to hell. Can you believe it? That reminds me of a Weird Al Yankovic song called Nature Trail to Hell. Perhaps I'll play that later. Stefan says, best of Father Bruno is the best. That is a personal favorite of mine as well. And we just like the way he talks, but he's a very big fan of Donald Trump. Christian says, I was there the first time Eazy-G and Rocky met. It was quite a night. I heard there was a lot of extra. Let's see. All right. I think we got everybody in there. So if you'd like to call us, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text to 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton. email me, matt@mattconnerton.com. But like I said, you can always just give us a call, 603-250-6007. A couple different directions we could go. I think we'll go with this. So taking a little bit of a chance here. I received something in the mail, and this is not any kind of a bit. This is 100% true. So before the show, I went to the post office. We have a P.O. box there for the business. And I received a letter, not a business letter, but a personal letter. It's actually my mother wrote me a letter. I don't think she will mind if I read this on the air. But my mom and we had a conversation recently. I don't get to see my mom very often. It's actually been quite some time. Not directly relating to COVID, but she's in another part of the country. So my mother lives in Wisconsin, and she's from the Midwest originally. Her and my dad split up when I was pretty young, and then she was born and raised in Chicago, so she missed it. She moved back there or to a suburb of Chicago, and then per the custody agreement, I would spend the summers out in Chicago with my mom. But she used to write me a lot of letters when I was a kid, and then that kind of stopped. But, I guess, when I became an adult, but she'd write me letters during the year when I wasn't, when it wasn't summertime, and we'd talk on the phone occasionally. And like I said, I'd spend the summers out there with her. But she wrote me a letter, and it's been a long time since I've gotten an actual physical letter from my mother. I mean, I have a box of old letters in storage, but it's funny, her penmanship has always been exemplary. My mother has really good penmanship, in contrast with my father, who has the worst handwriting I've ever seen in my life. But so my mother sent me this letter. It's relevant to things that, it's short, but it's relevant to things that we discuss on the show regarding COVID. And, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me rant and rave over and over again about my frustrations with people not taking COVID seriously, the anti-maskers, the whole right-wing conspiracy theorist anti-masker crowd, which it turns out is a pretty large swath of the American population. And, I've talked about on the show how this whole experience and the way people have reacted to it or failed to react to it, to this pandemic, and it's, in my view, it's cost hundreds of thousands of lives. It didn't have to be this way, and also too. I mean, we could have done the right things without wrecking the economy. We could have done what Japan did. Everybody mask up and try to social distance as best as you can, and then you don't have to close everything because everyone's doing what they need to do to prevent the spread without having to close everything. So I've just been really frustrated overall, and this experience of going through COVID, and we're going to do, this isn't fun. I understand. We'll do something. It is Friday, though. We like to have fun on Fridays. We will do something fun. I have something fun planned for after this, I promise. So I also had this conversation with my mother recently. We talked, what was it, a week and a half ago? We talked by phone. We hadn't talked for a while, and her and I kind of feel the same way, this frustration and how, and our disappointment in people, and how whatever faith I had in humanity prior to COVID has been pretty damaged by this whole experience. And just millions of people in this country have convinced themselves that wearing a face mask is somehow unpatriotic. I mean, it's horrifying, and it's just kind of damaged how I feel about people in the macro sense. And so we talked about that, and she's feeling a lot of that too. And I don't know. I thought you might all find this interesting. It's a relatively short letter, and I just got this right before, when I got here today, because the post office is right across the street. I ran over before the show to check the mail. So here's what my mom wrote. Hi, honey. I was thinking about the conversation we had earlier today, as I often do after we talk. I always value your opinion, and I remember asking you for your opinions when you were little, like 8, 10, 12 years old. I valued your opinion then, too. Of course, you were a very smart kid. But the thing I kept coming back to the most was when you said that you'd lost faith in humanity. It resonated with me a lot because I feel that way too. And it seems like we feel that way for a lot of the same reasons. It makes perfect sense. What may or may not make sense is that it breaks my heart and pisses me off that you, as my child, has to feel that way at all. Americans who lived during World War I and World War II left us with a better world. It seems to me that my generation, the baby boomers, didn't do so well. It's nothing I can change, but I do regret it. You'd think that during my years of counseling, I would have felt that way. Addicts lie all the time, and they are, what does that say? And they are fiendishly deceptive. I just never once took it personally. But I have to admit, hearing Republicans talk about shooting me because I'm a very liberal Democrat, I take that personally. And I wish we had left you something better. That's what I wanted to tell you. All my love, Mom. And I know why. I know why she included the reference to World War I and World War II, because during our discussion, I said to her, and again, if you're a regular listener, you've heard me say it on the show, it's hard to believe. I talk about how soft we got as a country because this is the same country that fought 2 world wars, and everybody pulled together and did what they had to do. And we were stoic, and we were strong, and we were tough. And what are we in what is America in 2021? And I don't mean to sound unpatriotic. I actually love my country, although it's become more of an aspirational love as my reality of how I perceive America has changed. But again, the country that fought 2 world wars, and here we are in 2021, and what are we now? Here's an example. I don't want to wear a face mask at the grocery store, and I shouldn't have to put on a mask for the 20 minutes that I'm in the store, and it's not fair, and I don't like it. That's who we are now. I mean, not all of us, obviously, but that's who a huge portion of this country has become. You know, the country that fought 2 world wars is now a country full of whiny babies who look for any excuse to not have to be concerned with the health and well-being of other Americans around them. You know, it's more convenient to believe in conspiracy theories than it is to believe in science, because science tells us things that we don't necessarily want to hear. So if you can find a conspiracy theory that you think believing in that because that's, if you look at the psychology of what's really going on here, that's what's really going on. In many cases, you know, people find people do that with religion. You know, people pick and choose things out of the Bible to suit whatever their pre-existing ideological views are that they're comfortable with, right? That's why all the homophobia in Christianity, people pick one little passage out of the Old Testament that they think somehow justifies prejudice against gay people, and they run with it, and they interpret it as creatively as they need to, and apply it wherever. And meanwhile, there's a million other things in the Bible that they completely ignore. But you know, a lot of evangelical conservatives are uncomfortable with gay people, so they hyper-focus on that one thing. And of all the Bible, screw anything Jesus ever said, you know, about taking care of each other and looking after each other and caring about other human beings. That's, forget it. We're just going to completely ignore that. Oh, but there's one little thing about man shall not lay with man or something. And what is it, Leviticus? And, whoa, clearly that means it's a sin to be gay. And we're going to... we're just going to base everything around that and be really angry at gays. You know, so that's just kind of what people do anyway. But it's just so sad that, well, anyway, so that's why my mother mentioned World War I and World War II, because that's the thing I always go to. This is the same country that fought 2 world wars, and look at us now. You know, you've got people freaking out at, grocery store clerks because I don't want to wear a face mask and you can't make me. And the most pathetic thing about it is the people who do that, they think they're the ones who are strong because they're not afraid of a virus. They think they're the ones who are tough because government's not going to tell me what to do and you're not going to tell me what to do. They're so They're so weak-minded that they think they're the ones who are the tough ones when they're actually the weakest, most pathetic among us. But they're literally too stupid to get it. So, but I feel like that's what America's turned into, and it's very sad to me. So that's why my mother made that comment. And she was referring to addicts because both my mother and my father chose careers in social work. My dad's clinical addictions specialist, and my mom, not as much education as my dad, but although a lot of it. And she also has a long career. She's retired now, but she had a long career working with addicts, and that's why she makes that comment in there about, you would think that being a counselor would have damaged her faith in humanity. Having worked with people who are addicts, and addicts do lie, and they cheat, and they steal, and they do whatever they have to do. But that wasn't enough to damage her faith in humanity, but it is now, and seeing, this QAnon thing that's kind of taken over the Republican Party. That's why she made the reference to, it saddens her to think that someone would actually want to shoot her or would advocate shooting her just for being a liberal Democrat, So anyway, I thought I read the letter. I was like, you know what? I think maybe I should have checked with her, but I thought, I think this is worth reading on the air. We will shift in a moment to something fun, I promise. But I do want to, let me give the numbers again, and then we'll catch up with the Facebook live chat because a lot of people are commenting. But 603-250-6007 if you'd like to call. Maybe my mom will call and tell me I didn't have permission to read that. No, honestly, I wouldn't have read it if I thought she'd have a problem with it. But 603-250-6007. You can also text me 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And there is, of course, the Facebook. Let's see. Melanie Fedderson joins us in the Facebook live chat. She says, wow. And Jenny says, wow, that's so well written. Melanie points out, mixed cotton blends is a sin in the Bible. Yeah, there's something in the Bible about not mixing fabrics. But no, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about the gay thing, that and abortion. Ann Rockwell, I should just say Ann, because I'm not sure about the last name, says, Matt, at 82 years old, some people still don't care. Sad. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's shift to something fun. And I kind of have a decision to make here, how I want to approach this, because there's two ways we could go. And if anyone in the chat room wants to, we'll take a very quick informal vote, or maybe no one will care how I approach this. But Donald Trump has written a letter, which I'm going to read you on the air. But I have to decide whether to do my admittedly, very, very poor Trump impression when I read it, or if I should present it as a dramatic reading, which I'm known for. But we'll come back to that. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hooah!
Hooah! I know that hooah. Tony D, how are you, my friend?
What's up, man?
What's up?
I really feel like the internet plays such a role into society today. And if you go back, take yourself back 12 years before the Facebook, and then the MySpace, and before the Napster, and all that jazz. It was just such a simpler world, and I always advert back to 12, 13 years ago when flip phones were just starting to become a thing, and everyone was that was the craze attention, and the world was just so much more simpler. No YouTube, no Facebook, no MySpace, none of this Reddit and all this other stuff that's out there now. You literally have the capabilities of getting in touch with so many people now across the world to claim all this BS conspiracy stuff, and it's all fed from the internet.
Yeah.
If you had a world that wasn't so in their phones all the time, and that drives me up a wall too, man. I don't know if that bothers you. Like when you and Jenny like went out to a restaurant and you saw a family of 4 or 5 sitting at a table, and all of them are sitting there in their phones while they're sitting out at dinner when you're out with your family. It drives me up a wall to see that.
Yeah.
And it's sickening to just know that something as simple as just typing www has everyone so mind warped. You know, it's crazy the way that the world is today because of the internet. I mean, you got to put at least 95% of the blame on the internet for the way that this world thinks today. You know, that you constantly got a computer in your pocket. You know, and I try to stress to my kids, like, you know, we're not going to be sitting on the phone. We're not going to be, you know, when it's time to have puzzle night or stuff like that, things that I did when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I try to do the same thing like that, so it's not so much like watching TV and all the negativity. I mean, cartoons nowadays, cartoons are crazy. I mean, they put things in the kids' heads. Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon aren't the same like we had it when we were growing up, where it was Rugrats and Beavis and Butthead. I mean, well, Beavis and Butthead was Beavis and Butthead, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you understand where I'm going with this. But the internet is the devil. It's the devil's playground for a majority of the crap that's going on in the world.
Well, I think the thing is, it's you know, it's like anything else. It can be used for good and for evil. And I think what the internet does for us is way exponentially more positive than negative. But like with anything, there is a negative side to it. You know, and I think that's why, you know, it's probably more important than ever for parents to be really engaged and, you know, to do like you do, Tony, where, you know, you have to make some rules about, you know, you're not going to pull your phone out in the middle of dinner and whatnot, because people are more connected than they've ever been. You know, I mean, there have always been some level of electronic distraction, because when I was a kid, you know, and I'm older, I'm in my 40s, but when I was a kid, I remember it being an issue if there was something on television that I really wanted to watch, and there I am, you know, gobbling down my dinner at the dinner table. And I remember one time my father getting annoyed with me about that. Like, you know, why is the television more important than sitting here and eating with your family or playing video games, you know? Video games weren't nearly as advanced at that time, but you know, but still, everybody in my generation had a video game console, and we were all addicted to it to some degree. So there's always been electronic distraction, but now it is more accessible than ever. But even that part of it, you know, even with, like, you see kids now with cell phones getting younger and younger, but even that, you know, it's like, on the one hand, do you really want a young kid having access to all this and to the internet and everything? But on the other hand, sometimes if there's a missing person case, when a child goes missing, how do they find them? They track their cell phone, or the kid is able to call for help. Or so it all, it's the yin and yang of it all, you know?
I think social media is horrible. I'll be the first to say. I've always said that. I mean, it's helped me out significantly in what I do, but I also seen the negative on what it can do, what people do. They troll you. I mean, you know, you see the negative side of, you see the, like you said, you see the good and the bad.
Yeah.
But I just think there's just so many social media places where people can go. Like, for example, Trump gets banned off of Twitter, right? And then he gets banned off of something else, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to go start my own platform, so all these people with their rhetoric of believing all this nonsense are going to come over, and we're going to do what we're going to do on this platform. You know, it's like things like that like really scare me, and it's like, wow, this guy wants to, you know, make his own platform so these people can come over there so he can preach to them like it's some kind of like cult, and they're going to believe it, and then it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a trend that's going to be happening. It's just, it's a devil's playground. That's just the way that I've always looked at it, the way I've always called it. Before the YouTube, like, I was watching, you know, music videos on Yahoo Music, and that was like the hardest way to listen to music videos. But then YouTube came around, and then now you see what YouTube is, and you know, it's just it's just crazy. It's just absolutely nuts what transpires on the internet and what you read and what you see, and it's just
right.
There's no such thing as newspapers no more, Matt.
Yeah, well, they're we still have them, but they've gotten very thin. It's an outmoded business model, but this is why too. You know, when we're talking about this stuff, I always bring up the internet and social media when talking about white supremacy and anti-Semitism. We've seen an incredible rise in anti-Semitism over the last several years, and I talked to my when I talked to some of my conservative Republican friends about it, the ones who still speak to me, some of the pushback that I get is that, well, don't worry about it, just ignore it. And I, by the way, some of them I think are very sincere, and I think really do believe this when they say, just, these people are idiots. Just don't give them any oxygen. Just ignore them and they go away. Don't give them the attention that they seek. But what they don't realize, the ones who are being sincere, the ones who aren't being so sincere, I think they do realize this. They just don't want to admit it. But the ones who sincerely believe that, just ignore them and it doesn't matter, is that because of the internet and because of social media, it is easier than it's ever been at any point in history to recruit people and to corrupt people's minds. This is why we have the spread of things like QAnon and 4chan and 8chan and all this stuff. Because it's easier now than it's ever been. When we think about what happened at Charlottesville, with all those idiots marching with their torches and chanting their anti-Semitic and their racist slogans and all that, before social media, it's unlikely that those people would have even been able to have congregated together because
Correct.
They all were recruited. This is how you recruit people now, is the internet. So and when you're talking about hate, when you're talking about racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, anything like that, you have to confront it. And that's what some people don't get. And
the sick part is that all that stuff that you just mentioned, the hate, the racism, the homophobia, all that stuff,
mm-hmm.
It all has a place on social media.
Right.
It all has a place. There's a place, like if you type in on a search bar that type of stuff, you will find it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hands down, you will find it.
Yeah.
And that's the sickening part about it.
But then
because it's there. It's there for you to. It's there for you to go and be a part of. It's just you just start typing in and searching. Boom, you're in.
It is. It is. But then it gets even more complicated because then we have this other problem. We can start trying to censor these things because you do have to confront this stuff. And I support any private company because these are private companies, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. They can decide what goes and doesn't go on their platforms, and they have every right to do it. But we do have a First Amendment, and the First Amendment is not to protect popular speech, but to protect unpopular speech. So then we get into the issues of, well, how much do we really want to be censoring these people? So it gets tricky. It all gets very tricky. I mean, I believe hate is something that can be must be confronted because it's like a cancer. It metastasizes, it spreads. If somebody has cancer, the doctor doesn't tell them, well, just ignore it and it'll go away. No, you have to confront it, right? And hate speech is very much like that. But then we also get into these issues of, well, what is hate speech? And what if somebody just makes a joke? Or what if somebody uses off-color humor that one person's offended by, but another person laughs at? And it all gets very tricky. It's very complicated,
Well, and obviously both of us being broadcasters, it's way different than like 10 years ago,
mm-hmm.
right? You got to watch what you say. You got to watch what you say now because the littlest thing, and we know this, Matt, the littlest thing can set someone off.
Mm-hmm.
And that person then starts saying things about you, and they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Their feelings got hurt.
Right.
It's like, wow. It's like, what happened to humanity? What happened to just taking one on the chin and just saying, move on and move forward? No, everyone wants to jump the gun and take it to the next level and make it a million times worse than what it already is. Then you start seeing things about you being posted here, then you're being posted there, and next thing you know, people are talking about it, and it's like this big deal where it's like an anthill that turned into a molehill. And it's just like, wow, like, you got to watch what you say. And like, that's the biggest thing with what I do now every week now. I look at all the content and I say, all right, well, this might rub someone the wrong way, but it ain't going to rub someone the wrong way to the point that it's going to come back and bite me in the butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the way that I kind of look at it. I'm like, yeah, this is an extreme thing to talk about, but it's not going to come back and bite me in the butt because there's going to have debates on this. I look at debating material, not so much material that's going to jeopardize me as a broadcaster per se, and throw me and what I'm doing under the bus and then get it ran over a million times. I like getting that debate material. You know what I'm saying? I think you're the same way. You like that debate material to have your differences on opinion, not so much of an argument.
Right. Well, I do, although in the context of this program, I do enjoy it when an argument breaks out. I just don't like to be the one doing the arguing. I like it when other people argue on my show. I don't like arguing so much because I like to have a constructive conversation. But when other people start arguing, like when John Hopwood is arguing with Mike Doyle or something, that I think is fun.
That's good content.
Yeah.
Good content. Well, anywho, that's what I wanted to call with. I don't have a word of the day for you because all the other words are cheesy. So I was like, I don't have nothing today.
Oh, okay. You don't. Well, what about for cheese? You don't have like a Philadelphia word for cheese or something? You don't call it something different or something?
Call it whiz.
Oh. Well, that once again, I think that might be something for the other show. But all right.
Yeah, I'm getting geared up for tomorrow. So,
well, give that a plug before you go, Tony, please.
Yeah. The return of Tony D and the boys tomorrow. Big episode lined up. We're live, IPM Nation, Raw Talk Online, YouTube, Facebook. Available for download on the Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, whatever your podcast platform you desire. You can find us. All you got to do is type in the Tony D Show, and you can become a swinging D for $5.99, and you get a free shirt, and you get a free mug, and you get all this other stuff at TonyDShow.com. So you can join that and become a fan of the fan club. Get all of our exclusive content that's not aired on Saturdays.
Oh.
You get a little bonus round from us. So, and then we got blogs and stuff like that. So we got a real big year in it coming up here. Giveaways, gift cards. We're gonna do the whole shebang this year because we're live now. So we're gonna. A little nerve wracking now that you're on when you're on multiple platforms now. It's like, oh god,
right.
It's a different ball game now.
Sure.
Podcast is cool, but once you're live, it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it's exciting though. I'm very happy for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool, and I thank you a lot, Matt. So anyway, enjoy your weekend, and if you guys want to tune in, that's where you go, TonyDShow.com, and you can just catch us 5 to 7 tomorrow. So
all right, sounds great. All right, Tony D, thank you for the call, my friend.
All right, be good, man.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. All right, Tony D from Philadelphia. It is a big weekend for him. The Tony D Show is returning. Before we take a break, lots of great comments in the Facebook live chat. Well, we might come back to that, though. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back to that, because some of this might take a little longer, and I don't want to feel rushed. It's a topic I'm interested in discussing further. But we will get to that letter before the end of the show, by the way. The Trump letter. Trump is no longer an actor. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll find out shortly. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Don't go away. More Unleashed coming up.
I was part of the Reagan Revolution.
Welcome back, everybody. It is hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. Streaming at WMNHradio.org and on the Facebook on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page on this Friday, February 5, 2021. If you'd like to get in with a call, 603-250-6007. Don't wait too late because it is Friday. So unless I am alerted otherwise, Rob Azevedo will be in live for Granite State of Mind at 6 p.m. So we wrap up a little bit early on Friday because it is the COVID era. So I need time to wipe down, to clean up, to sanitize, and all of that because I don't want to be leaving any of my germs here. Although I will be returning with some of my germs and sitting at the news desk tonight at 8 p.m. for Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. So that is live tonight from 8 to 10. Always love hanging out with Paul. Paul will be here in the captain's chair, of course. I'll be at the news desk, and our great friend Dan Randlett will be over there on the couch, and we have a great time every Friday night. Lots of positive feedback on the show. People seem to really enjoy that. So that will be tonight from 8 to 10, Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. So we look forward to that. So lots of fun and excitement here. But get in with a call if you would like to, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text us at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can opine and interact in the Facebook live chat. So you have no shortage of options to communicate. So that's one of the advantages to social media. And we will come back to that subject. But before we do, also, I want to remind everyone that we are proudly sponsored by the Hop Knot. And if you're watching online, you can see I've got my Hop Knot shirt on, not wearing a Hop Knot face mask because that would be awkward to wear on the air. But but if you get the Hop Knot face mask, they look really cool. They're only $10. And if you wear it when you go to pick up your food there, or you stop in there for a delicious gourmet pretzel or a beverage, you get 10% off your order. So that's a pretty cool thing. And they do things very safely there. The staff is masked at all times. The tables are spread apart. They're very thorough and diligent about cleaning and sanitizing and whatnot. So it's a very safe place to go, which is extraordinarily important. So we're very honored and privileged to have them as a sponsor here. Rocky Huber in the Facebook live chat says, yes, we want a dramatic reading in Trump's voice. Now, if you don't know what that refers to, and we will come back to the other subject, time permitting, because I do want to delve into that a little more, what we were talking about in the first hour, and there's some great comments in the Facebook live chat, actually about a couple different things. But so we'll come back to that. But Trump has written a letter, and that's the big news. Trump actually wrote a letter. Now, actually, speaking of Trump letters, I want to know what's in that letter that he left for President Biden, which the president says was very generous. But we don't get to actually see what's in the letter, at least not yet. So, but Trump wrote a letter to a certain labor union that he was a member of, apparently, because he's been in some movies. He's got that cameo in Home Alone 2 and whatnot. And I am going to read the letter to you. And I can't wait. But we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, real quick, Eazy-G, I like a dramatic reading too of the Trump letter.
Well, now what Rocky challenges me a little bit, though. He wants a dramatic reading in Trump's voice. I don't know if I can do both at once. I don't know if I can.
I just like the reading. The Trump voice doesn't really concern me. But anyways, real quick, I was wondering if there'll be any kind of controversy on the next big shows like Monday Night Raw and the AEW, the show Dynamite, because another famous wrestler passed away today. I don't know if you heard of him or knew this. Butch Reed died today.
Oh, I knew, and it slipped my mind. But yes, the natural Butch Reed.
A lot of heart attack problems, I guess, in the last couple of months, and the heart did him in. How
old was he? Do you know?
I don't think he was real famous like the other guy. What's the name of the other guy that had all the controversy with the no 10 bells for WWE? What was his name?
Was it Jimmy Snuka?
Who?
Jimmy Snuka? Jimmy Superfly Snuka? A lot of controversy
around him. The guy that
him.
recently passed away. There was all the controversy at WWE
Oh.
They didn't give him the 10 bells like AEW did.
Oh, Brody Lee.
Yeah, I don't think this guy is as famous as this guy.
No. Butch Reed was, I remember him, and he was active in the, at that time, WWF when I started watching it when I was a kid. But
Right.
but he wasn't, he wasn't doing they weren't doing a lot with him. But he was a big guy.
He was still, I feel bad that he passed. So rest in peace, Butch Reed.
He was a big, muscly guy, so he might have been on the juice, if you know what I mean.
Photos on the on the World Wide Web.
Yes. Well, very good.
It's funny because real quick, Tony D was talking about social media. So even though I broke my rules a couple of times, I'm trying to limit my social media to an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, after 6, no social media. So
yes.
But even though I've broken the rules a couple of times, I'm trying to limit myself. So even if there's good news, bad news, whatever. I don't need to be online every 5 minutes checking things.
I think it's very healthy to limit your access to social media. I mean, if you can. I mean, someone like me, I can't because of what I do.
Business,
right. But if you can,
my situation,
it's a good
I
idea.
can definitely limit myself.
Yeah. No, I think that's.
Sometimes you hear the
good,
the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly. As Amanda McCarthy's first CD would say, and you don't need to. You don't need to know what's going on every 5 minutes in everybody else's life.
That's true. Absolutely.
Oh, sometimes it's interesting news, but sometimes it's not the best news, and then you're stuck with that news in your brain.
That's right. You don't want news stuck in your brain.
I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm looking forward to the dramatic reading. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Eazy-G. All right. Eazy-G leaves us. All right. So the votes are in. It was probably a rigged election, but I'm going to do this in the form of a dramatic reading. But we do have another call first. We'll grab this. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, it's Ron.
Hey, Ron. How are you?
Good. Hey, why don't you hold off on the reading and ask Eric to come down? I'd like to hear Eric read it. Hey, listen, really, why I was calling?
That would be fun.
Knowing what you know, and you're astute on so many different topics, and you're just a plethora of information.
Oh, thank you.
It blows my mind that you can even be slightly concerned over wrestling because it's so fake. How could you? I mean, there's so many sports to follow, MMA or anything else, and I guess you got to be a wrestling fan to understand it. But I just don't see you as a wrestling fan, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem to cut it. You just don't fit that category.
Well, the fake thing is weird to me because it's entertainment. It's like any other fictional form of entertainment. I mean, Game of Thrones was really extraordinarily popular for a long time, but that's fake too. It's scripted entertainment. I mean, it's so I don't know when people throw that around. Well, wrestling's fake. It's like, yeah, and so are Screech from Saved by the Bell just passed away recently. Did you know that show Saved by the Bell was all fake? They were actors, they had scripts and everything. So what's the difference?
I suppose it's it's a personal thing. I'm not knocking you or anything. It's just to me, I was like, when I see the wrestling and people getting all hyped about it, it's like, you got to be kidding me.
I got hooked on it when I was a kid, but I don't watch it every week anymore. Just once in a while. I'm too busy.
All right, read your letter, brother.
All right, Ron. Thank you for the call.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right. Let's look at this. So this is from BuzzFeed News. Donald Trump, the Home Alone 2 Lost in New York actor and former president of the United States, resigned from the Screen Actors Guild on Thursday in a letter that can only be described as outstandingly petty. His resignation came after the labor union moved to expel him for his role in inciting the attempted coup at the Capitol, which resulted in 5 deaths. In the letter to SAG-AFTRA President Gabrielle Carteris, and by the way, yes, she was on Beverly Hills 90210. That show was totally fake, by the way. I don't know if you all know that. They were actors on that program. Trump name-checked several examples of his esteemed work in the theatrical arts, such as that one 1994 episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air he appeared in, a classic. I forgot about that. Here is the letter in full. And I will do this as in the form of a dramatic reading. I write to you today regarding the so-called disciplinary committee hearing aimed at revoking my union membership. Who cares? While I'm not familiar with your work, I'm very proud of my work on movies such as Home Alone 2, Zoolander, and Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, and television shows including The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Saturday Night Live, and of course, one of the most successful shows in television history, The Apprentice, to name just a few. I've also greatly helped the cable news television business, said to be a dying platform with not much time left until I got involved in politics, and created thousands of jobs at networks such as MSDNC and Fake News CNN, among many others. Which brings me to your blatant attempt at free media attention to distract from your dismal record as a union. Your organization has done little for its members and nothing for me, besides collecting dues and promoting dangerous, un-American policies and ideas, as evident by your massive unemployment rates and lawsuits from celebrated actors who even recorded a video asking, "Why isn't the union fighting for me?" These, however, are policy failures. Your disciplinary failures are even more egregious. I no longer wish to be associated with your union. As such, this letter is to inform you of my immediate resignation from SAG-AFTRA. You have done nothing for me. There you go. In a very succinct statement from the union in response to Trump's letter, SAG-AFTRA said, "Thank you." So there you go. Trump's "You can't fire me, I quit" resignation comes just over 2 weeks after the union announced it was taking steps to revoke his membership for the same charges he'd been impeached for. Guterres had said in a previous statement, quote, "Donald Trump attacked the values that this union holds most sacred: democracy, truth, respect for our fellow Americans of all races and faiths, and the sanctity of the free press. There's a straight line from his wanton disregard for the truth to the attacks on journalists perpetrated by his followers," unquote. The union also said the move to expel Trump was the result of his, quote, "reckless campaign of misinformation aimed at discrediting and ultimately threatening the safety of journalists," unquote, many of whom are SAG-AFTRA members. David White, the national executive director of SAG-AFTRA, said, quote, "Our most important role as a union is the protection of our members. The unfortunate truth is this individual's words and actions over the past 4 years have presented actual harm to our broadcast journalist members," unquote. So there you go. That letter was very, very Trumpy, shall we say. Mike Pelopita just posted in the Facebook live chat, just went by the homeless camp under the bridge by the Armory. Must be 30 cop cars there. Oh, yikes. Something happened. Something has gone awry. Let's see. Let me give the numbers. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can text 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or email me matt@mattconnerton.com. And there are some interesting comments in the Facebook live chat regarding the discussion we were having earlier with Tony D., who called us regarding social media and the internet and so forth. Tony calling it the devil's playground. By the way, Rocky Huber says, "I did like him in Home Alone 2, LOL. So Eric Street, who is a top fan, commented, there was still social media and YouTube back in 2019, but yeah, I know what he means, or 2009 rather. Yeah, I find it difficult to remember exactly when some of these sites began. It gets to be a bit blurry. Tom Blanchard said, we were talking briefly too earlier about The Sound of Music because if you don't know, Christopher Plummer passed away today at the age of 91. Tom said, just getting home. And I just wanted to mention one more thing about The Sound of Music. I remember my mom and I saw The Sound of Music at the State Theater back in 1965. Boy, that's showing my age, LOL. Wayne Noel, who is a top fan from Michigan, said, today the negative far outweighs the positive when it comes to social media and the internet. Well, I don't agree with that, but I also recognize, obviously, it's all subjective. There's no way to quantify that, but I think what the internet does for us and what social media does for us, I think is far more positive than negative. Now, obviously, I'm biased in a sense that, if you're in media on any level, in any form, you need the internet and you need social media. These are part and parcel to having a media presence. You literally cannot function without them in the era in which we live. So we depend on them so much, but we also depend on them for many other things too. I have wondered, how we would have pre-internet, how we would have even done during a pandemic as far as the dissemination of information to people. When we lived in a time where people would get their information not really in real time, right? Because, we would rely on newspapers. And when I was growing up, you had the nightly news. On most stations, you had local news at 6 p.m. and then the national news at 6:30 or at 7 p.m. if it was a station that had a full hour of local news. How would people be able to get up to the minute information about the pandemic that we're currently going through? And also, too, another thing related to the pandemic, I've often said we're actually, you got to find these silver linings. In this regard, we're fortunate that the pandemic is happening when it is and not, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Because to have the pandemic happen pre-internet, now, because of all the things that we have via the internet and all these modes of communication, people can actually keep in touch with each other and exchange information. And granted, sometimes the information isn't so good to be exchanging because sometimes it's wrong and it's conspiracy theories and it's non-science based and whatnot. But even just being able to keep in touch with people, to check up on people, to communicate with people, to actually video chat with people via sites like Zoom. I mean, it's incredible for me to be able to, as a hypnotherapist, to be able to continue my practice by doing it online using a platform called Doxy.me that a lot of people in my field and medical professionals and others are now using to do appointments. There was a time when you couldn't have done any of this. Not that long ago, right? Even 10 years ago, it would have been much more challenging to do all these things. So we're very fortunate that we have the internet and people can use it to communicate and to entertain people, especially when there's, I'm never comfortable with the word lockdown because that's not really what it is. But, when people are furloughed from their jobs and they have to stay home and whatnot because of the pandemic, the creativity that we see on YouTube and other platforms is astounding. And, I've often joked that, if this had happened when I was a kid and everybody had to stay home for a while, I would have been looking at my parents like, well, I guess we got to dig the box of VHS tapes out of the basement and see if there's something we haven't watched in a while because we suddenly have a lot of time, nowhere to go, nothing to do. And we're just sitting here, or, maybe we got to call the cable company and have them turn on a couple of those pay channels like HBO or Showtime, and maybe we can watch some movies. What would we have done? So I think the positive outweighs the negative exponentially, but there's always going to be negatives to anything. Anything is going to have anything that's positive. You can use it for negative purposes, is what I'm saying. So that's my perspective. Miriam Banish, who's a top fan, says social media is being used to spread propaganda to the people most likely to believe it. That is true. They are vulnerable and afraid of science, and all the platforms push what they see you are consuming and basically censor what hasn't interested you in the past. That is a great point, Miriam. And this is something I've thought a lot about, and I have no idea what the solution is. But the way these algorithms work, not just on social media, not just on YouTube when you're looking up videos, even on Google, if you're just Googling things, these algorithms learn what it is that you want to consume, what you're interested in, what types of information appeals to you. So if you're a liberal person and you look at a lot of liberal information, that's what you're going to see first on social media or even when you're just using Google. If you're a conservative, same thing. If you're a libertarian, same thing. If you're, I don't know, whatever. Not just with politics, but with anything, with, what kind of music you like, anything. And it does make sense, right? It makes sense that, and it's another example of something that's good but can be used for bad. It's good in that, of course, you want to be presented with things that are going to be most interesting to you. The negative aspect of that is particularly politically, and I think this is part of why we're more divided than ever, we're more polarized than ever in this country, is because you're always going to be presented information unless you go out of your way to break out of your bubble, which I try to do on a regular basis. But you're always going to be presented information that appeals to you and reinforces your already pre-existing viewpoints and positions and biases. You're always going to be presented information which only reinforces that instead of challenging that first. And, we talk a lot about, we've discussed it on this show many times, confirmation bias, where people gravitate to news sources. See, it was already happening pre-internet, by the way. So if you're a conservative, you're really going to listen to conservative talk show hosts like Rush Limbaugh and people like that. If you're a liberal, you're going to be more likely to gravitate toward more liberal-oriented news services, maybe like NPR, although I think NPR gets a little bit of a bad rap. I don't think they're as biased as some people think, but just to use that as an example. When you're talking about radio, it gets hard because conservative talk really dominates political talk radio. But so even pre-internet, people were naturally going to gravitate toward news sources. I mean, Fox News, the internet was still kind of in its infancy when Fox News launched. But of course, conservatives gravitated to Fox because Fox was openly presenting itself as, a more conservative alternative to the so-called quote unquote liberal media. That is the mainstream media, right? So people have always been prone to confirmation bias, but the internet, because of the algorithms where the internet is designed to bring you information, including news, including politics, that is going to appeal to you first and not anything that you don't want to see, then that cycle continues to be perpetuated, that confirmation bias. The internet's really made for that, and that is a problem. What is the solution to that? The only solution to that is we as individuals have to recognize that and actively work to break out of it, which almost no one ever wants to do. Which is a problem. See, the thing is, though, the reflex is to want to blame the internet. Well, the internet shouldn't be designed that way. No, actually, the internet should be designed that way. The problem ain't the internet. The problem is you. The problem is not the internet. The internet should be designed that way because you want it to be convenient. You want to be able to find information quickly. If you go to look something up, you want to be able to find information quickly from sources that you trust, right? So the internet should be designed that way. It's working exactly as it should in that regard. The problem is you if you think there's a problem. The problem is you if you're a conservative just watching Fox News and listening to talk radio, conservative talk radio. The problem is you if you're a liberal and you only listen to liberal podcasts and you get your, I'm trying to think of another more. See, people talk about liberal media bias, but unless you go with the narrative, well, MSNBC MSNBC. They're pretty openly liberal. So if you're a liberal and you get all your cable news, the only cable news channel that you watch is MSNBC, then again, you're the problem. So until you change human nature, or until you change the way people think about politics, see, but that gets to, there's even an underlying issue of how people think about politics. I think our attitudes about politics in this country are inherently unhealthy because people treat politics like a team sport, you know, shirts versus skins, us versus them, red versus blue. You know, we're always the good guys and they're always the bad guys. That's literally how people think about politics. And people choose one of the two main herds that they're going to run with. And then they proceed to walk through life honestly believing with every cell and every fiber of their being that I'm on the right side, I'm with the good guys, and everything that we do is correct and everything those other guys do is evil. And of course, it's exponentially more complex than that, but people don't like the complexity of it. People like everything to be simple and my side good, other side bad. And that's how people think about politics. It's extraordinarily unhealthy. It's also not particularly interesting. I think politics is much more fascinating when you allow it to be and when you see it as complex, when you see issues as being complicated and not simply liberal versus conservative. It's actually really interesting if you allow yourself to be interested in it, which most people aren't. That's one of the reasons I'm an independent, because I don't want to be on a team. I don't want to be in a herd. I don't want to be part of a cult. You know, I want the ability to be able to say, well, you know, even though I might lean one way more than the other, and I certainly do, I definitely lean more left than right. I think I basically always have. And then the Trump administration gave me a good hard shove to the left. But that doesn't mean I agree with Democrats on everything. There's some things I actually like and appreciate about conservatism. And that's why I go out of my way to expose myself to media and to people that I don't necessarily agree with, because I might find something in there that I like. Sager and Jetty from thehill.com. He's currently my favorite conservative. He's intellectually honest. I trust him. I don't agree with him on everything. I never will. I'm not a conservative, but I like him. I appreciate what he has to say, and I can find common ground with him. And even when he's talking about things that I disagree with him on, I trust at least that he's telling me the truth. He's not presenting me with a bunch of BS, and he certainly isn't some QAnon freak. So I appreciate Sager and Jetty. Check him out if you haven't. Rocky Huber says, it's sad to see the way social media influences politics in some people's lives. Melanie Fedderson says, and this is interesting, Melanie says, what I find annoying is the cancel culture catchphrase, like acknowledging the part of America's history that we celebrate. I'm sorry, I misread that. Let me start over. I want to do this because it's a great comment. I want to make sure I get this right, Melanie. What I find annoying is the, quote, cancel culture catchphrase, like acknowledging the part of America's history that we are not proud of means we can't celebrate the history we are proud of. Bunch of babies who don't like to be uncomfortable in a discussion. Yes, I agree, Melanie. That has become kind of a, but there's a lot here. There's a lot here, and we got to wrap up in a few minutes because it's Friday. We might have to continue this discussion on Monday. There's a lot to unpack in what you're saying there. But yes, I have noticed, and our favorite QAnonian, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, she's been complaining about cancel culture because she's looking for scapegoats for her own looniness. Although it's too late, she already got kicked off those committee seats, and now she's playing the sour grapes. Well, you know, it's better that I'm not there for that. Just, my God. She's the new face of the Republican Party, my friends. But yeah, so they, you know, if you want to have an uncomfortable discussion about something, yeah, they say, well, you know, it's just cancel culture. Not that I don't, this is where it gets complicated. Not that I don't have my own issues with cancel culture. I do, because I do think sometimes it's unfair. Yes, I do think people should be called out for things that they've done and said that may be racist or homophobic or transphobic or Islamophobic or whatever, anti-Semitic, all of that. I do think people should be called out and held accountable for that. But unfortunately, sometimes it's just not fair. Sometimes it's used incorrectly. And we've discussed it on the show. John Hopwood and I got into a big, kind of a legendary moment in the history of this program, and I think it made it into a couple of different best of episodes. John Hopwood and I got into a huge argument once on the show over, what is his name? Oh, his name escapes me now. There was an ESPN sports analyst who was there was a tennis match. It was Serena Williams. I have no idea who her opponent was, but Serena Williams, of course, is black. And this analyst made a comment, which he had said before, and people understood what he meant. But I guess Serena, she was being very aggressive. She was playing in a very aggressive way. And the analyst made the comment that Serena was resorting to guerrilla tactics or something like that. Well, next thing you know, this analyst is being fired by ESPN because people went nuts on Twitter saying, oh, he said something racist. He needs to be fired. He wasn't saying something racist. The word guerrilla has more than one spelling. And the reason it has more than one spelling, it has more than one distinctly different meaning of the word. So he wasn't saying Gorilla, he was saying Guerilla, guerrilla, as in like you hear people talk about guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare. It just meant that she was playing very aggressively. He had used that same term referring to the aggressive play of other tennis players as well. It was something he had said before, and people knew what he meant. It should have been obvious what he meant. But you have these people, these social justice warriors, who will seize on anything, even if it's obvious that the person is not saying something racist, but some people will fall for this nonsense because they're too uneducated to understand what the person was actually saying. So because they want to be outraged, I call them the outrage brigade, because they want to be outraged so badly because it gives them some sort of sense of empowerment, especially when they can ruin someone's career over it, they then begin to lash out. And this guy ended up getting fired, and he wrote in his book that when he met with ESPN executives, they told him flat out, they said, we understand you weren't saying anything racist here. We understand exactly what you meant, what you were putting across, but we're under a lot of pressure now from sponsors because there's so many people who don't get it and who think you were being racist. We have to let you go. And they terminated his contract, or they settled with him. I think he actually walked away with a lot of money. But so, cancel culture, again, well, I like to put it this way, in the larger sense, political correctness, which has been around for a lot longer than cancel culture has. Political correctness as a concept, this is another example of something that is good that can be used for nefarious purposes. Political correctness, I think, in a macro sense, is a good thing. I think it's a positive thing. The idea that you shouldn't try to hurt people, the idea that you shouldn't go around saying things that are racist or homophobic or anti-Semitic or whatever. I think that's a good thing. You shouldn't go around saying those things, and you should be held accountable when you do say those things, and you should be called on it. However, you can take that, what is a good idea, political correctness at its core is a good idea, and you can use it in some very negative and harmful ways and some not fair ways. And that guy shouldn't have been fired because he wasn't being racist, as anyone could see, but you got the Twitter, you go on Twitter, and you just like that, you can ruin somebody's career. There's also other examples of this where this has happened that are a little more complicated than that. But we don't have time. We are out of time. Again, if you're just joining us or if you're new to the show and you don't know this, we wrap up a bit early on Fridays because we are immediately followed by Granite State of Mind with Rob Azevedo at 6 p.m. And it is the COVID era. So on days when we have a show right after us, I finish up a little bit early. So I have time to clean up, wipe up, and sanitize and disinfect and all of that. So thank you all so much for joining me today. But please stick around for Rob's show coming up live at 6 p.m. And then make sure you're back tonight at 8 p.m. for Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. And always have a great time there. And, of course, if you missed any part of today's show or any of the shows here on WMNH that you want to check out, everything is archived at WMNHradio.org. And that's it for... Oh, actually, Rob is here. Hey, did you want to pop on and just tell us what you got cooking tonight on your show?
Oh, yeah. We've got a great artist named Eric Ober, singer-songwriter from... Yeah, he comes from Concord, and one of the best musicians, I got to tell you, in the state. Can play, can sing, can play any instrument, and play it really, really well.
Yeah.
He's also one of the members of the Rip and E Breaks, my favorite New Hampshire band. So he's going to be on here. So what I've been doing, I've been with the musical guests. They play from 6 until 6:30, and then I let them take over the airwaves, and they get to play DJ. We pick the songs that they want to hear. Mixing it up a little bit.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're always welcome to come in early, but
thank you.
I was actually about to wrap up, so I have time to clean up, and then you walked in. I was like, "Hey,
good timing.
Perfect. Yes, and everything's good with you.
Everything is good with me. Good. No complaints whatsoever. Just plugging away. Granite State of Mind, 6:00 Friday nights, and. What else, Maddie?
And you've been vaccinated, you lucky SOB.
Yep, vaccinated. Just the first shot.
Just the first, okay.
Yeah, got the first one because I'm in home care. And reactions weren't that great, but my next shot is in April. So I'm not in any rush to go get it because I hear the second dose is pretty tough for a couple days after.
Yeah, well, it depends, but I that's from what I understand though, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah,
because that means your immune response is really kicking in strong. So
I read a whole article about immune systems and how tough they are. You know what I mean? And like steel down there. So yeah, once you get sick, that's a good thing that they that it's working.
Absolutely. All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, stick around. Rob will be coming up next at 6 p.m. and I'm gonna wrap up. Thank you all for joining me, and I will talk at you. Well, I'll talk at you tonight on Paulie's show, and other than that, I'll also talk at you on Monday. Bye, everybody.